John Muir, often called the father of the modern conservationist movement, was a naturalist and preservationist that helped protect the wilderness and establish many national parks in the United States of America. One of his most important and noticeable fights for nature was the debate of Hetch Hetchy Valley in Yosemite National Park at the turn of the 20th century. His work has inspired many people, including presidents such as Theodore Roosevelt and William Taft, to work diligently to preserve nature. Muir always had a love for the wilderness, even at a very young age.
His inspiration came from basically where he grew up in Marquette County, Wisconsin. He grew up on a farm and he had all this land around him. He also was a very curious individual, and he was meticulous too in how he paid attention to detail. And I think that gave him his inspiration to learn more about the environment.
When he was around 25 years old, he was working at a factory when he injured his eye and was temporarily blinded. All through his recovery, he worried that he would never see the wilderness that he loved ever again. When he recovered, he decided to turn his focus towards nature. He boarded a boat to California and ended up in the Sierra Mountains, where his love of nature really blossomed. While he was there, he started to write books and articles about glaciers, the Sierras, and Yosemite, which was still only a state park, and sent the articles to the New York Tribune. As the articles gained popularity, the more people became informed about the natural beauty of America. As he explored Yosemite, he noticed how it was being destroyed by sheep, loggers, and tourists. He blamed the California State Park Commission, saying they were letting things get out of control. More and more, John Muir was speaking out against the destruction of nature. He wrote more articles, books, letters, and gave speeches. In 1881, he wanted to make two new laws. One was to extend Yosemite's boundaries to include more forests and lakes, and the other was to make Yosemite a national park. He sent the idea to Congress, but they turned him down. He turned away from environmental work for almost 10 years because of this defeat. In 1889, he visited Yosemite and, to his horror, saw that the park was even more out of control than before. He wrote two more articles. One described the remaining beauty of Yosemite, and the other urged people to try and persuade the government to make it a national park. A bill was established, and in 1890, Yosemite was officially a national park. Included in Yosemite was the Hetch Hetchy Valley. It was said to be one of the most beautiful places on Earth. It was very similar to the Yosemite Valley, which was only 15 miles away. It was carved by glaciers millions of years ago and had several enormous waterfalls. Native Americans were thought to live there year-round, such as the Miwok and Washoe tribes. The valley was filled with thousands of ancient trees, plants, and countless species of wildlife. In 1890, the city of San Francisco, California was looking for a new water source. The mayor of San Francisco, James Phelan, suggested that they dam the Hetch Hetchy Valley and Lake Eleanor nearby to supply water and hydroelectric power. In 1892, John Muir helped establish the Sierra Club. The club's goal was to explore, enjoy, and protect the wild places of the earth, to practice and promote the responsible use of the earth's ecosystems and resources, to educate and enlist humanity to protect and restore the quality of the natural and human environment, and to use all lawful means to carry out these objectives. He was the club's first president and served for 22 years. In 1901, Mayor James Phelan applied to the U.S. Department of the Interior for water rights in the valley. Secretary of the Interior, Ethan Hitchcock, denied the request. In 1905, John Muir, William Colby, and the Sierra Club started a campaign to protest and prevent the damming of the Hetch Hetchy Valley. This is considered to be the first organized national conservation fight. They wrote letters to Congress, published articles, and persuaded the people of the United States to protest the dam. Soon letters came pouring into Congress from people across the nation, and even some from other countries. The Sierra Club was relatively small at that time, with members only in the hundreds. To accomplish as much as they did was a huge feat. As more people read Muir's articles, the more people started to oppose the dam. Hundreds of newspaper journalists, inspired by Muir, wrote about the dam, and gained even more public awareness for the cause. Muir was sure the dam was not going to be built. But in 1906, something happened that would change the course of this conservation fight. The Great San Francisco earthquake and fire happened. This devastating event shut down some of the city's water supplies, and they were desperate for water. Also, James Garfield, who sided more with San Francisco, became the new Secretary of the Interior. Mayor James Phelan asked Gifford Pinchot, the chief forester of the U.S., to take the city's case to President Theodore Roosevelt. They held a meeting, and in July 1908, the city's permit for rights in the Hetch Hetchy was approved by Roosevelt, Pinchot, and Garfield. The case just needed to go to Congress. When Muir learned about the meeting, he was furious for not being invited. He mailed pamphlets that explained why the valley shouldn't be dammed to members of Congress and other influential people. James Garfield was not happy. He wrote an article criticizing Muir and other nature lovers. Muir fired back with an open letter stating, "The more I study your decision of May 11, 1908, the greater it seems the mistake you have made in allowing a city to destroy any part of the Yosemite National Park whatsoever." Soon even more letters from people came pouring into Congress. But in 1913, Congress and President Woodrow Wilson passed the Riker Act, allowing the city of San Francisco to build a dam in the Hetch Hetchy.
When the dam was approved, I think that devastated John Muir. He had fought long and hard to prevent the dam from flooding the Hetch Hetchy Valley, which he considered to be one of the most beautiful spots on the earth. So in effect, there was that long drawn-out battle. I think he was in a position to think, well, maybe it's finally over. And then, of course, with the politics and the money backing up the dam, when it did happen, I think it just totally devastated him. I think it took a lot out of his spirit.
The dam was finished in 1923 and still provides water for San Francisco and neighboring cities today. Thousands of trees were cut down, and Native Americans and animals were forced out of their homes. The beautiful and vast meadows were covered up with water. 3 years after the dam was approved, public outrage over Hetch Hetchy caused Congress to create the National Park Service to ensure that national parks would be protected as best as they could. Even today, people are still deeply concerned about the valley. A group called Restore Hetch Hetchy have started a campaign to restore the valley. Even if they are successful, it will not be as beautiful as it was before.
The long-term effects of what John Muir did accomplish almost a century ago is still with us today. This idea of setting aside lands that have minimal impact, human impact. So that's a legacy of his that has survived to this day. And it also brought an awareness for the general public and even for some of the politicians that, perhaps we shouldn't exploit everything that there is out there on the landscape for our own benefits, but rather maybe we should put some of this aside and for study, for people to enjoy and recreate.
In losing the battle over the valley, Muir had won an even bigger battle by introducing people to the value of nature. He helped the idea of national parks spread across the world. His efforts inspire many others to work eagerly to save our planet, to use our resources wisely, and to appreciate the beauty of nature.